one question, people. Can you all see the Q&A section here in the meeting? Come on, give me a quick acknowledgement if you are able to see the Q&A section. Okay, great. So just a request, if you would like to have a random discussion, drop the things in the chat section. And, when the Q&A round comes, when you want to bombard us lovely speakers with your questions, so you come to the Q&A so that, things are more managed and we do not miss out your important questions from them. Okay, one more minute to go. You still have a chance to call the community people out there. And I would request the teams of MLSA community, the GDSC, SRCASW, and CSI Bennet University to please float the messages again in their respective groups so that the other students don't miss out the opportunity for this event. Please, you can start circulating that again. Okay, all right. So again, good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. So first of all, very thank you for joining us for today's session. So the Google Developer Student Clubs, GDSC SRCSW, in collaboration with Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Community and Computer Society of India, Bennet University, quarterly is, welcoming you to today's enlightening session, Open Source 101, that is unleashing the open source potential. And we know that October is coming. We already had September right here. And these are the months where, the open source contributions are on peak, just mystically saying, because we have a lot of programs in these coming months, and this particular month. So open source is something that you must be really, passionate, or you can say, very curious about, since we have a lot of beginners in the community. So in today's session, we are going to demystify open source, because it's not just about writing the code. It's a global movement that empowers you to collaborate, innovate, and contribute to the impactful projects for greater good. And it's just about maintaining a streak of contributions or getting swags out of it. It's more than that. And to get started with open source, to help you with this wonderful thing, we have the lovely speakers for today's session. We have Swastik Baranwal, he's the open source developer, and we have Aditya, he's GSOC 2023 mentor, and he has been a participant in GSOC 2022. So these two are the really two amazing speakers, amazing personalities that we have today. And see, today you're going to explore every aspect of open source that is needed to be a beginner. Like, you will learn how to get started as a beginner. You will learn what is it all about. You will get inspiration from our speakers as well for the session. So I would like to invite our lovely speakers on the screen just to say hi. I hope you are there and you are all prepared to get engaged with the lovely community. Okay. Hello, Aditya. Thank you so much for joining in. We are truly amazed to have you here. And yeah, okay, Swastik. So over to you, people. You can start sharing your presentations, and you can get started with your part.
Before we start, थोड़ा enthusiasm दिखाओ यार. Show some enthusiasm. Are you all excited about the session? Yes. Nice. Over to Swastik now. Swastik, you are muted if you are saying something. Yeah.
Can you guys are able to see this now? The screen?
Yes, yes. Yep.
The Canva. Okay. Okay. Hey
Yes,
everyone. Okay. This is Swastik Baranwal, and I'm gonna teach you how I started in open source, and I will also teach you how to unlock its potential. Before I start about telling about open source, I'm gonna tell about how open source is able to achieve so many things by introducing myself. I am a SD Internet Effective AF. I am also a FOSS United Delhi organizer and an open source contributor, like I always say, and one of the core developers of the V programming language. Also, I'm now a technical writer and a speaker as well. These are the logo to which I am affiliated. Okay, so what is open source? Open source is a term that is used to define open source software. Open source software is code that is has to be publicly accessible so that anyone can see, distribute, and modify the code as they fit it. Okay, now plenty of people are asking what are the advantages of open source. First is collaborate other people. There are many people whom you will meet around the world whom you will be collaborating the code with. There you will be learning about the culture and learning the best practices in which you can only learn from the best minds of the industry. Second, learn to use production tools and code. There are several times in which you will be using production code and tools which will not be having documentation as such, but you will be having the code and the tool. What I mean is you will be having the code and tool to be taught by expert, and you will be learning it by first-hand experience as you use it in your production code. Now, the third point is get your work recognized. If you develop an open source project, if it gets recognized, you will get several opportunities. You can get several job offers, and you will be called as speakers, taking workshops, and you can make your own brand franchise or your brand. Okay. Okay. So how to get started with open source? Okay. So there's a tool known as Git, which has to be used to track, coordinate changes in file and coordinate work. Some basic Git commands are like git add, git commit, git push, and git restore. And now the code we will be posting would be on platforms like GitHub, where it allows programmers to store their code, manage, and modify their code. And you all, as a developer, you will need an IDE like VS Code, where you will be writing your code on, but you can use several alternatives like uh, Sublime, JetBrains, Atom, etc. Now, now you will be thinking what kind of language should we contribute to. So there are several languages on GitHub like TypeScript, JavaScript, and Python because there are several projects and it's very easy to learn and contribute. Okay, now I'm going to tell about my journey on how I started as an open source contributor as a completely newbie. Okay, so this is an article which I wrote a year back. Let me share it. Okay, so this is an article. For this, you can cross refer to. I will cut it short. So I was an open source contributor for the last 4 years. Yes, I have been contributing for the last 4 years. So how I got started into the open source contribution. Generally, for contributing to open source, I used to see every single trending project which was of my interest. There are several projects which you can see which can contribute to. You can filter it out by the date, by the language. Suppose if there's Python, then you can see what kind of Python projects you can contribute to, or JavaScript. Okay, like I suppose I picked up this repo, then I would look at its issues. Like this is a very simple issue in which a JavaScript beginner can contribute to. And here, then you can make a PR for it. Okay, so then I discovered this programming language known as okay. So I discovered this project on GitHub, which is known as the V programming language. This is where I started my open source journey on. Okay, so it got around 5,000 stars a week, which shocked me, and I wanted to know what was so special about it. So what the first thing was, I joined a Discord server. As as the V language was heavily inspired by the Go language, I had several questions because I didn't know Go language back then. Surprising, and people in the community were really responsive and cleared my docs. And also you can always ask basic questions because one cannot know everything. And this was my first question in 2019, like 4 years ago. Then I built a project on my own by cloning the project. I didn't know about what GCC is, what make and SYing link. So I took around 5 hours to figure this out. But then I was quite happy that I built V on my own. Then I started reading their source code by using the grep tool. It's git grep tool, which is a command in which you can find the specific text you want to search. Then where I found the to-do text, which was what I have to solve. After taking help of people and after several days, I wrote basic functions like is upper and is lower and is alphabet, which were not present at the time. I submitted the first PR with this implementation, but then it got rejected. So my purpose to become a first contributor was to become a better programmer. I didn't get demotivated by seeing this comment. So I saw that what to implement next. Then I saw that title and capitalized functions were not implemented. Then I started implementing it with the help of the community. After 10 days of coding and testing, 12 days, I made another PR. My PR was merged, and after it got reviewed. Now, that was one of the biggest accomplishments for me that time. Now, this PR motivated me to contribute more because I started to learn how to contribute stuff which I couldn't never imagine. So I started to collaborate with other active contributors and ask them to review my code whenever I got stuck, needed help, etc. Here's some screenshots of how I used to ask. Again, 4 years ago. Now, the above screenshot is a glimpse of a chat with a contributor who was more knowledgeable than me. Both of us weren't sure how to solve this problem, so we had to leave it. So we both collaborated on how to approach it. I simply went to change the error message and open the PR. Later, it got merged as a minor change. I just updated the error because we couldn't figure out how to solve it that time. Now, after doing constant contributions and collaborations, I learned how to use Git, approach problems, debug code, inspect them, and got to know the internal working of a compiler, write good Git comments. Also improve my development setup, get good open source projects, also became a better programming in general. I've been contributing to the V programming language for the last 3 years. Now it's 4. I implemented many basic language features. I implemented operator overloading. This is how it worked. I implemented this on my own. Then I implemented it syntax highlighting. Yeah, so it used to highlight the documentation. Then I also implemented constant ident for max ranges. It was another feature. Another feature which was implemented by me. Then as of 2000, this is of last year, I have done around 150 commits and 276 PRs on VLang alone. I fixed so many bugs related to checker, parser, and code generation. Also added documentation. You can also see what I can say specifically done. As this is very old, I have around more than these commits. As you can see, I still have two PRs open. I have merged. I've given around 242 PRs. My total PR rate is 359 PRs. These are the projects I contribute to regularly. Well, I don't have 1,000 commits, but quality matters. Okay, now uh, here you can get connected with me here. This is me. I'm Swastik Baranwal, and it's me signing off. Any questions?
Thanks a lot,
Any questions?
Swastik. That was a great session. If anyone has any questions there, feel free to ask in the chat section or the Q&A section.
Uh, were you guys not able to see my video?
Actually, no,
But it's visible on my side.
it's not visible for us, but
Uh,
you were
eh?
audible, so I guess that works.
Can you see now? I mean, I switched. It was switched on the whole time.
You're still not visible, but
Huh? Wait a second. How is it
that's
possible?
fine, no issues. That's fine, no issues. Like we have some doubts in the comment section. Swastik, do you think V is a viable language in the future?
What? Well, it can be. It has potential, but for me, I had to learn. It's for me a learning playground.
Yes, that's
Well,
that's
I'm not any active contributor in the present Linux distros yet because I'm not getting the time to juggle it with my intern, open source contributor, and my college certs.
and how do you find easy repos by keywords? That's the question by Max.
Keywords. Well, what
Keywords.
kind of? Okay, so here's it. Well, I will just take an example here. You will have to search it by topic or
Yeah.
something. You want a easy like projects to contribute to, right?
Yes, that's I guess that's the main question of Max.
Well, okay. Well, what I do is that there are several repositories. Like, okay, is my screen visible or not? I forgot to switch on, I
No,
guess.
no, your screen isn't visible.
Okay. So, okay. Oops. Oops. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no issue.
So, back to what I
Yeah,
was
now
saying.
it's visible.
Okay, so what I was saying that where I used to find project in such list known as awesome. Awesome is a curated list of finding awesome things related to the language. Here is an awesome repository of Go, which has frameworks, libraries, and software. Then I used to search it by category, what kind of library I should contribute to, or what kind of expertise do I have. Well, here's my project listed. You will search about Box CLI Maker, it's listed because it's an advanced console UI. You can check about this project after the session and ask. You can have questions related to this after me contacting me. Hey, that's all. Any more questions? Does that clear your doubt? Huh? I'm not audible.
You are audible.
Okay.
Swastik is completely audible. The participant is requested to check their internet connection from the end.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, please feel to drop your questions.
Okay. Any more questions?
Swastik, we have a question that what is the difference between pull request and commits in the Q&A section? Would you like to answer this question?
I can't.
In the Q&A section.
Voice. Tips for hack to a fist. Well, just look for as a beginner. you can go to some active projects which are on GitHub. I think that would be covered by Aditya. Oh, what's the question, Rachit? I can't see the question actually.
It's in the Q&A section. Like I can read the question. What is the difference
Yeah.
between a pull request and commits?
Okay, so commit is something which you can do directly, but a pull request is something in which it has to be reviewed by the active contributors, and so that there can be some suggestions. By commit, you are just straight away directly committing there. A commit can be reverted, but a pull or request has to be reviewed before it can be merged into the repository. That's all.
I hope that was clear.
Yeah, I hope.
Okay. So I think we'll move on with Aditya Bhaiya. Now I would like to invite Aditya Bhaiya to the stage. Aditya Bhaiya is like he cracked GSOC in 2022 and he's the mentor for GSOC this year. He is also East India grantee and he also has a startup. He's currently working as a SRE at Shuffle and I guess he will say more about himself in his PPT.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
Let me share my screen really quickly.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
It is.
It's visible.
Yes, it's visible.
All right. How is everyone? I'm not very used to online talks. Oh, my bad. I'm not used to giving talks online. Usually I have an audience, which is at least of 4 people, which used to be one of them used to be Rachit. Right. As I hope everyone is doing well. मैं पकड़ पकड़ के किसी से बात नहीं कर सकता. That is a slight disadvantage on my end, but that's okay. Let's begin my talk. I hope my voice quality is good and my video quality is okay enough.
Yes.
All right. So this is the title of my talk: Accidental Open Source Dev, Getting into FOSS from Manish. I am saying this because of the way I came into development. I'll tell you about myself. Let's look at the different slides here. We have introduction about me, why open source, all this other jazz will cover. The talk will be pretty brief. So I guess Swastik gave a pretty decent overview about FOSS, and I don't need to waste my time over that. Swastik was very thorough with his talk. I really appreciated it. It was pretty interesting. I really think that his article would help a lot of newbies out there. So building on top of that, I'll talk about my experience. Anyways, let's get into introductions, right? So of course, FOSS is important, right? And the reason that a lot of money is flowing into FOSS right now is because there are a lot of open source software where the consumers don't really know about it, but the world actively runs on it. Which is why FOSS is cool. We are using Microsoft Teams to attend this meeting right now. It is built on Electron. Electron is an open source framework, right? पता था ना सबको इलेक्ट्रॉन के बारे में इधर कुछ नई चीज तो नहीं बता रहा ना चलो I can't see the chart but I feel like a regular lecture की तरह empty छोड़ रहे होंगे so FOSS is cool. You saw Swastik's profile, right? Swastik has been contributing to VLang. A lot of the other programming languages that you will probably pick up are either open source by themselves or a lot of fundamental libraries that you'll use off of them are open source. For example, most of Python is open source, most of Java, Go is open source. Name any language, either that particular language is properly open sourced or a big library is open source. This is why it's important to get into open source. This community out there, it's not perfect. It's great. It's very smart. It's not perfect, and it needs your help. And it's extremely fulfilling to give back to it. So before I continue with my talk, here is a little bit about myself. I, I, so if you look from the if you start from the last couple of tags, I started out pretty much in security. Getting into development was it. I got into development in class 12 properly because I always knew how to code. Just that I always wanted to be more of a security engineer. Um, Programming has always been nice to me, and it has always come naturally to me. But security was it was something else. It's so for those who don't have any idea about cybersecurity as it is, I mean, as the keyword says, you probably even I'm assuming your first year there, right? So cybersecurity has a lot of different little niches, but the best part about cybersecurity is that you can really do it for the sake of it. Uh, because again, to make money in security, it comes by slow. It does. Doing security as it is can be very fulfilling because it's a lot of adrenaline when you figure out something that no one else has, uh, which is by extension why I like SRE. So I've done all these things. Ratchet did a good job narrating them. I am an SRE at Shuffle. SRE क्या होता है? हाँ? किसी को पता है? SRE stands for Site Reliability Engineer. I am basically a professional firefighter at Shuffle. I had a fire I was fighting yesterday. I had a fire I was fighting on Friday. I did not have a fire this whole week, and I expected for a calm weekend and a calm Friday, but no. God was like, no, I'll give you a fire. So basically, site reliability engineers deal with keeping systems running, properly production stuff. I have done all the mistakes that you shouldn't do while knowing that I need to do them because there is a fire. For example, testing in production while your servers are serving up to 1 million requests that day. It's really scary. I've done all those mistakes because I have to. And it all began with me getting into Google Summer of Code. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So why open source? We already went over this. No need to stick around here. The the whole premise of why open source, the whole the one point for this answer is that the world silently runs on FOSS. So it's really cool and fulfilling to contribute to it. Um, of course, it also fills your resume, but come on, man. Enough people talk about filling your resume. Let's talk about something fulfilling and sure, by extension, and this is something that I want to also address in this topic, in this talk. अभी मेरे को opportunity मिल गया address करने का. And I'll talk about this later as well, how people are treating a lot of things, are doing a lot of things just for the sake of the resume, which ends up being all these open source programs. You should do all those things for your resume, sure, but by extension, there is a lot of giving back you can do that I really need you to focus on. Yes, we do live in a capitalistic world, but anyways, we'll go over that. So why open source? Of course, the world silently runs on on FOSS, as I mentioned before. Before you dive in, right? So I get a lot of messages ki acha bhaiya, how do I get into GSOC? How do I get into open source? How do I do this? How do I do that? To begin with, now I really liked Swastik's talk because of his article, and I'll bring it up again. It was very thorough about his experience in getting in. For me, so for all of these different programs, I wanted to slow down and I want you to first get the prerequisites right. Okay. I want you to be a little sure about what programming language you would be using. I want you to be a little comfortable with your terminal. I want you to be a little more comfortable with Git and GitHub. It's okay. You don't need to be an expert. No one walks in to open source as a whole full-blown expert. That's not the point. Just know it a little bit. Have the intuition that you need to build upon it. I want you to also get good at reading and picking up things on the fly. What I mean by that, more on that on the slide. So how do you get good enough? Good enough is a very abstract, very abstract term. In the sense that to be fair, no one is really good enough, right? If you are walking into open source being a Chad who's done all the stuff that software engineers do, sure, you would be a very good resource to the community, but it's way more fun. Oh, I hope my internet is not lagging. Is it?
No,
Because
like,
I
we are
see.
perfectly audible.
All right, because I saw your face disappear slowly and steadily. That's the only thing I can see.
We are perfectly
All right.
audible.
All right. So yeah. So getting better at getting good enough is, see, in tech as it is, both in these big companies and these small companies and open source, right? You need people who can do all these different things. That is why there are people who take up different sets of responsibilities. Some people are just better at some people are just more experienced, so they take up different sets of responsibilities. If you start out new in tech, there is always something new which you can take, which your seniors would probably not, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to learn, a lot of entry level things to do, and a lot of entry level things to do are also in open source. So before, sure, you walk in not knowing a lot, it's totally fine, but I want you to at least be familiar with your terminal. I want you to know ls क्या होता है, cd क्या होता है, git क्या होता है, मैं कौन से डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में हूँ, मैं कौन सा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम यूज कर रहा हूँ, मैं क्या चल रहा है. You need to know. I don't want you to get lost in that. I want you to get a little comfortable with pulling and pushing stuff to GitHub. And again, you can always make the argument that, hey, you can always learn things on the fly. Sure, you can. Whatever works for you. I'm not here to stop you. But but no, to also accept the fact that if you take the route of learning on the fly, which I am here to tell you to slow down, and you're there to prove me wrong, right? So if you do go on to learn things on the fly, which is a pretty great move, I guess. Just know that your PRs would be accepted a little slow, and लोग थोड़ा गाली वाली देंगे तुम्हें. Because yeah, because it has its own consequences. So let's talk about getting good enough. The only way you can get good enough in tech is by reading a lot. And I really emphasize on this, by reading and by watching a lot of content. This might be uh, audible content, this might be visual content, right? For me, reading was pretty nice. When I got into tech properly in 11th, 12th grade, I used to read a lot about tech because I just got into cybersecurity with all my heart, and I needed to understand क्या है, post request क्या है, get request क्या है, put request क्या है, how what is an HTTP request. It's all very basic stuff, you can figure it out. You can figure it out fairly quickly by going into all these different basic rabbit holes. And for that, now I really want you to be curious, because while you learn these other big things, you also need to go on these side quests, right? I really want you to be curious about how things work in tech, and that is the most important part. Curiosity will take you places, and it will make you different. And it is, in fact, one of the only things other than properly working hard, which will differentiate you, your curiosity, and by extension your passion, and how much hard work you do. It's pretty obvious, right? So I want you to go into these different rabbit holes. Uh, of course, you will have these basic rabbit holes where you would be figuring out, okay, what the heck is JavaScript? What the heck is Git? What the heck? How do I change my Arch ka theme and all that bullshit, right? But then eventually you'll go into these more interesting, stimulating rabbit holes. Wait, Git to pad liya, but I don't really know how Git works underneath. What is inside the Git directory? How does Git take care of all these different versions? All these, what does a commit hash truly represent underneath? Have you gone into it? Have you gone down that rabbit hole yet? If not, I want you to go down those rabbit holes. If I give you the .git folder, you'll probably be able to extract everything that came before it, and that includes the files and both the messages. And it's pretty interesting because it leads to vulnerability by extent, where websites oftentimes have their .git directory exposed. So people are able to scrape all the files and rebuild their whole project from scratch. Thus, they have a white box to test on. So I really want you to go down these side quests. I have these examples that I would want you to get curious about, and I think that is one of the best ways to go. Being curious and constantly trying to figure out things. This Git one thing, it was pretty enlightening to me, because I found this vulnerability in a couple of CTFs and in real life as well. Many times it did not really matter, as it does not, as it does in security. So giving you examples about different rabbit holes you can go in. I came up with these in like 1 minute. I was rushing to prepare this talk yesterday because I was fighting a fire, as I said, at work, which is what SREs do. So, for example, how does Facebook serve to millions of load, which is apparently going to facebook.com from the user's perspective? I really want you to think about it. हाँ, तुम लोग बोल दोगे domain है, ये ऐसा है, वैसा है, ठीक है, fair enough. What next? Where is it going to? How is it being distributed? How much is it being distributed? Right? I want you to really go down these simple little interesting rabbit holes. There is also this rabbit hole that I came up with. How do computers generate random numbers while being deterministic machines? It's a pretty, sit down with this question, think about it. How does it happen? If a computer is basically, you can basically run a function in it which takes an input and an output, and it's as deterministic as it gets. How does the random module, which I'm pretty sure you guys have fucked around with it, how does it generate a random number? And I know the answer to this, and I wanted to figure out the answer to this. And I wanted to go on multiple different rabbit holes like these. These side quests are extremely important because nothing that you read in tech goes to waste. Kabhi na kabhi wapas aayega. And it will differentiate you because you knew this. You went down this side quest and you figured it out. And another example, how do you implement live text editors? It's pretty fun to implement this, both from the backend side and front end side. I just wrote backend here because it was 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. whatever. So that's about getting good. Getting good will take you a couple of months. Getting good enough will take you a couple of months, sure. Will you ever be good enough as the word's literal meaning is? Probably not. You'll know when it's time to start contributing anyways, though. Let's talk about these open source programs, right? That is why I came here. So you have Google Summer of Code. I participated in Google Summer of Code in 2022 and 2023. So here Google provides you a platform. It the projects can come to it, and it vets these different projects and it selects a couple of projects under organizations. So basically, rather than projects coming to them, organizations come to Google. Actually, my bad. Um, and then after these organizations are sorted, which are usually the same every year. Like if an organization has been getting selected for a decade, it will probably make it to this GSOC as well until something really goes down. So you can expect repeating organizations to repeat and new organizations to take their time to persist. And then after a while, you as a student, you have to apply to GSOC, and once you get in, before GSOC as well, you have to submit your PRs to the projects that you're interested in. You have to be active in the community, and slowly and steadily you can you basically throughout the tenure before GSOC, you have to win the trust of your mentors that okay, ye kar lega, ye jo the project that he's opting for. And once you get through, you're given a deadline, and you're paid your stipend in two different dates. One is the middle evaluation, and the end is the final evaluation when you get paid. Yeah, since you are living in India, you'll probably get $1,500 for the whole tenure, which is good enough for someone who has not made a lot of money before. And anyways, it's a very interesting opportunity because you get access to a lot of cool nerds with all of these programs actually. And I think you should really leverage it. Getting paid in open source is it's an absolute fantastic privilege. I also did not mention that Shuffle is also open source. So it's been great getting paid in open source. But more about that later. Yeah, I've spoken about Google Summer of Code, LFX mentorship. LFX mentorship is similar to Google Summer of Code. The only difference is that LFX is by Linux Foundation. LFX stands for Linux Foundation. And so LFX mentorship is managed by them on their platform. Different projects come to them for different little problems that they want mentees to solve, and it's basically another mentorship program that you can participate in. Then you have Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is an annual event. So it's more like this, that you have separate projects that are participating in Hacktoberfest. Intel also participates in Hacktoberfest. You can submit your PRs, and oftentimes if you get enough PRs in the right repositories, you will get merch. It depends on whatever is the threshold and all that. So you can look into it. These programs are all very exciting and all very nice, very approachable. And I'll get to all of them one by one. I have this tendency to say these other couple things that I'll say that I was speaking of before, and this focuses more on my experience in GSOC. I get a lot of messages this year out of nowhere. I'm not sure if तुम लोग के लिए competition बहुत ज़्यादा खराब होने वाला है कि क्या, but I am getting a lot, or maybe it's because I was a mentor this year. I'm getting a lot of messages with people asking me, "Bhaiya, GSOC कैसे करें? First year में, second year में, they'll give me this huge chat GPT generated email, just not email, LinkedIn message, and मेरे को मन नहीं करेगा उस पर reply करने का. But I anyways read a paragraph or two there from it. सबसे पहले ना, when you are reaching out to your mentors, don't use ChatGPT that much. It's a little less hard for me to give a shit to reply to such messages, because in a corporate environment where your client is paying you to use ChatGPT again to dumb it down for you, the email that they wrote using ChatGPT, I don't mind that, sure. For LinkedIn, oh, come on, I don't give a shit. Please reach out to me. Put some effort. Don't be so algorithmic with me. Yeah, humans need a human touch. Uh, it's nice to be sure that the person you are speaking to is a human and help on the other side. Um, you have to remember that all these different programs, or even if you were not going through these programs, for example, Swastik did not, right? I think so. And a lot of my very cool friends did not, right? One of my friends is a contributor to the Ethereum Foundation. I'm not sure तुम लोग को पता है कि नहीं, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole right now. So even if you're not going through all these platforms, you have to remember now that these people, they're all human. They are people. Please don't use ChatGPT. Please don't be annoying. Be annoying in the right way, where you take responsibility for the issues that you're asking. And there's a very appropriate way for you to ask questions to them as well. In the sense that if you're being too laid back, if you do not know how to Google, no one is going to tell you those things. You come to me and you say, भैया आप फॉस बोले जा रहे हो, हमें पता नहीं फॉस क्या है. I'll ask you, अरे भाई फॉस तो तुम गूगल कर सकते थे, क्या है, मुझसे क्यों पूछ रहे हो? तो it's basically the same way, right? So don't be annoying in both a negative way, in it's always a negative way. What am I saying? In both a less informed way and an over smart ass way who is being annoying and too narcissistic. Tech is fundamental. Tech will always have a lot of narcissistic people, like any field does. Maybe right now you don't really care for it. When you will grow up, you will, because you'll be working with them. I have been one of them. We all will be one of them till we understand that no, it's better to not be annoying that way. So, but when you guys submit your first PRs, you will probably be annoying in the way that you're asking the wrong questions. In the sense, there are a lot of things you can Google. Get good at Googling. As I said in the previous slide, did I say it here or did I say it here? Yeah, TLDR, get good. You have to get good at Googling first to get good enough, right? You have to get good at figuring things out, reading these articles, reading documentation. It's fine if it's too much overwhelming. Take your time. You don't need to read documentation on day one. Probably be able to read it from 1 year by 1 year from now. It's okay. Sure. Take your time. So ask the right questions, and please get to actually submitting PRs and asking and bugging your mentors with these questions. Ki, acha bhai, so I'll tell you what. If let's say you were applying to Intel for the next GSOC, and what would you do? If I were applying to Intel for the next GSOC, I'll probably go to Intel and is my internet that slow? All right. And I'll go to oh my god, issues, and यहाँ पर labels. So ना यहाँ पर there are different labels. Usually there is a beginner friendly or something along the line of beginner label that you'll probably be able to find.
Yeah, no, it's taking some
Better?
time.
Yeah. So okay, all right. I'll not shift the issue too much, the screen too much. Then there is always this good first issue ka label in any project. Is either good first issue or beginner friendly or something along those lines. If you put enough effort, I'll figure it out. All I'm saying is that the I don't really need to be here to tell you this. If you put enough effort, you'll know कि it's a good first issue होता है. If you watch enough YouTube videos, if you put enough effort into digging under the surface, है ना? Which I really want you to do if you care. And so one of the other mistakes that I see people doing with GSOC is that I see a lot of them, and don't worry, I'll tell you about how I did GSOC and my experience with tech. But a lot of these other mistakes that I see people with GSOC and these programs is that they rush into it. I've been talking about rushing a lot because मेरे को बहुत ज़्यादा बच्चे आके बोलते हैं don't mind मेरा ML model fuck up हो चुका है, ठीक है? I've been reinforced into thinking कि कोई ना कोई rush करेगा ही करेगा. I also rush, sure, but more about that later. Oh, yeah. So approach these other programs, Oktoberfest and all that yourself. You will know when you are ready for GSOC, and you know what, 4 years for GSOC. Take your time. I want you to, whenever you apply, I want you to be sure कि अच्छा ये जो organization है ना, I am driven enough to apply there, and I give a shit enough to stick around. Remember, people fail in GSOC, right? You don't want to be that way. It's important for me to say that because I saw someone fail this year in GSOC. Anyway, let's move on to the next slide. My roommate has been waiting outside for he's been logged. I'll open in a bit. It's his mistake that he left now. So about me, but a little longer. So I'll quickly share my experience in tech because I started out with, I'm basically an accidental FOSS dev, right? So what does that mean? So when I was in 11th grade, I fell in love with cybersecurity. I thought, hey, wow, cybersecurity is fucking cool, man. It is the shit. And the reason it is because you'll see that cybersecurity, it really pushes you into getting into these different rabbit holes, you know? So anyone who's a general person who's a cybersecurity enthusiast will probably go into so many rabbit holes that he'll probably be randomly aware about a lot of cool little niche things. I approached development I approached FOSS from more of a cybersecurity perspective. And it is important for me to clarify this, that this is also a way that you can take. So I had been indulged in cybersecurity since 11th. I was also indulged in 12th. I messed up my grades. I messed up my JEE here and there. Sure. In 12th grade, I realized that, hey, security is very cool. By then I had been an AppSec AppSec Village volunteer. So in DEF CON, an RSA conference. Does anyone know what DEF CON and RSA conference are? Is it okay? I'll quickly. Bol Raju.
Yeah. So DEF CON is basically a conference based on cybersec.
Yeah. Basically. So DEF CON is one of the biggest conferences that happens in cybersecurity. Very big. It happens in Los Angeles, and very cool little event. A lot of cool smart people come there. So I did not have the chance to go there because when don't mind that, it's my roommate stuck outside the room was calling me. Yeah, about DEF CON. So I volunteered in DEF CON for AppSec Village, where I took care of their CTF infrastructure. That is where I fell in love with infrastructure, DevOps, SRA, and this was 12th grade, and I realized that, hey, security is very cool, and everything about tech is so fucking cool. And oh my God, it's so fucking cool. And but I really want to make some money. because I wanted to learn more about DevOps. I wanted to read DevOps books. But I did not really want to ask my parents for money anymore because 12th was about to end. I had a lot of guilt about a lot of things. So I wanted to pick up, I wanted to make some money, like enough of my parents' money for at least all these things. And it's hard to break out of it right away anyways. Like enough of asking for money. I want to make some of my own to read these books, just for the sake of pride. It was a humble little need from my side. So, oh, am I offline?
No, you're audible.
All right. So I did some freelancing. I here is how I got my first client. I went on Reddit on the for hire r/for hire subreddit, and I saw people asking for websites, and I went to them, like full stack websites, and I went to them like, hey, I am your guy. I can build your full stack web application. That is where I realized I hated front end. uh, then I got some money out of it, and I realized that I was in a high back then. Okay, I made XYZ money. It wasn't much, but it was in dollars, so it really inflated my sense of how much it was. Then one of my other friends in the CTF team that I was in, he gave me a referral to CTF. I've been saying CTF so much. CTF is capture the flag competitions, where you basically hack things in an isolated environment, if it makes sense. That's a layman definition for you. I recommend you go down the rabbit hole of CTFs as well. So he gave me a referral. I got into the internship. My last interview was before I joined college, like the month I joined college. Then most of my first semester was online, so I went to my office, and it was very fun learning there and being humbled by such smart senior engineers that I saw there. More than just smart, they were very competent and very. I knew that they could figure out things much quicker than me, and working under them has been very enlightening for me for that 1 year that I was under them. In the middle, it did get a little something close to toxic, but not exactly toxic for me. The work, there was a lot of work. I was very burnt out, and I really wanted to take a step back and uh, just not continue working there. It was getting a little unpleasant. So I thought I had no other way. I had been one of these other people. I saw them doing GSOC early on in 12th, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. So Google is paying them to do open source. Are you fucking kidding me? It was cool to me because I had this sense of belonging in security. In security now, you have to remember that a lot of these scripts and these tools, they're all open source, and security gives a lot to you, like the security community. So you really want to give back to the community. Because for me, for example, I grew up in that community. I wanted to give back. I wanted to build them tools that they could use, because they taught me with their CTFs that they built and hosted on their own community money. So I wanted to do that. So I remember seeing one of my friends do GSOC, and I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. He's getting paid to do open source. He's getting paid to give back to the community. I really wanted to do that. And I had been programming since I was in 8th grade, but I really got good only by 11th grade. And I got more into security than just development, which I am glad. It has really shaped the way I am right now. So I saw him do GSOC, and I was like, oh, I really want to do this. It was very cool. I was in my first year by then. I'd been making PRs and been active since like a year more or less before this. I applied after doing my PRs, and it turns out that in the middle, my mentor, he was also from India. He's like, see, hear me out. फर्स्ट ईयर में बच्चों का नहीं होता है ना, ये मान के चल. तो आई गॉट वेरी डीमोटिवेटेड कि अच्छा नहीं होता तो मतलब नहीं होगा. एंड आई गॉट फर्दर डीमोटिवेटेड व्हेन आई सॉ I apologize. I am back.
Yeah.
Yes. My phone draw. Don't worry about it. Is the internet quality nice?
Yeah, you're audible.
Perfect. So where was I? Yes. I yeah, so my GSOC mentor also told me nahi hoga, and I had a terrible experience in my internship. I wanted to escape, it felt suffocating, but I couldn't. And not so. I remember the day the results were supposed to come out. I was sitting in this library-like environment called Hatchery with my friends, and I was like, "Bhai, nahi hoga." I was sure nahi hoga. I had put in a lot of effort, but again, my co-contributors were this guy who now works in Google, and I knew he would because he was very smart from Triple IT Delhi. Very very nice, very smart guy. And there was this other guy who worked as an intern in this company called Dukan. I'm not sure how many of you know how good Dukan used to be and is, with Subhash being their CTO. And then there is this other, and then this guy that I'm talking about, he later went on to intern at Hacker Earth. And I apologize, Hacker Rank. And from there, he went on to intern at FamPay right now. I'm sure he'll do other great things. I don't know if you guys know about these companies, but it's a big deal to end up at such companies. So I was very overwhelmed, to say the least. So I was not expecting myself to be selected. I remember I was reloading that dashboard constantly for 15 minutes. Reload, ho ja, ho ja, ho ja, ho ja, ho ja, ho ja, ho ja. And my friends could see me being anxious. And I then I realized कि अच्छा भाई phone भी check कर सकते हैं. फिर मैं email reload करे जा रहा. I had no hope. Then I reloaded again, 15 minutes late, and I got this email. Congratulations, you have been selected for the HoneyNet project. And I was like, what the fuck? That was not supposed to happen. My mentor pretty much told me it was not supposed to happen, right? This is not how it works, right? I thought it was more mechanical. So I ran across the hatchery like normal men do, and I ran down, then ran across the campus like normal men do, to my friends, and we celebrated together, and it was pretty nice. Turns out that particular session they sent the emails late, 15 minutes late. Thank you for the scare, Google. So the oh, someone has a question. Did I take too long? All right. I'm about to finish anyways, don't worry. So after that, I went on to contribute to interlevel, and then from there I did other contract jobs in security itself. I became a developer after that in security to build tools, and now I am an SRE. I am a site reliability engineer, which is close to DevOps. Not exactly, it is there's a lot of DevOps there, but it's more about firefighting, and it's more, you write a lot of code there and own a lot of code. It's basically a glorified backend developer role for me right now. which is pretty poetic because I remember starting out in 12th thinking security is nice. Programming, I really want to do that. I also want a little bit of DevOps. I want to afford DevOps books. And now I'm doing all of this because right now I am an SRE at a security automation company. It's called SOAR. If you are not in security, you'll probably not know what it is. But if you are in security, you know what SOAR is. Or if you're in tech in general, you know what SOAR is. SOAR stands for Security Orchestration Automation Response. Don't worry about it. Basically, security automation is very important in the industry. And Intel is also a SOAR solution, more or less. Shuffle is an even interesting SOAR solution that I like a lot. It's also open source, and in fact, you guys can right now check it out to see. जो मैंने trick बताई ना, good first issue and beginner friendly. Just go and check it out. Don't spam. I was about to show you some recommendations about what you can contribute to, but I realized कि you'll probably spam around. So you know what? जिसको करना है वो कर लेगा. So I really want to conclude first before the Q&A. So I'll push this up. And my conclusion is my job is to tell you, like my GSOC mentor, कि देखो first year में नहीं होता, take it slow, you have 4 years. Your job is to be determined enough to prove me wrong, and also while being confident that you don't really need GSOC, in the sense that if you're good enough, you'll achieve the same things that in the same way, the same number of PRs, the same number of PRs in the same projects, in fact, maybe more than someone who did GSOC, right? You don't really need GSOC. GSOC is just an entry level program. And so I don't want you to glorify it that much, but I get why you're glorifying it because it helps to achieve it. Sure, if you want. Don't rush into these programs. Take your time. For me, कोई बोलता नहीं है कि before GSOC for a year I was interning and doing freelance. You have to remember, you have your own journey. People still make it into GSOC, right? GSOC is also not the end, and all these different programs are not the end. Even if you put your all effort into it, now if you get into open source, it's the best thing ever. You'll be surrounded with these smart nerds. There is no syllabus. Please don't treat it like like an exam. Please don't be so competitive. It's all about coming together as a community. Right? Embrace it. Chill and have fun while giving back to the community you learn from. Yeah, that's mostly it. That was my perspective of getting into open source from the perspective of a person who came from a niche, and why a niche might help you out, because you have a lot of gratitude to the community when you come from such niches. That's mostly it for me. So I'll now go to the Q&A. Throw me your questions. I hope they're not something that can be answered well by Google. बहुत मारूंगा ना. बताओ.
Thanks a lot. Bhaiya.
So
Like,
Aditya,
your talk is
I
always amazing.
okay. So Aditya, this is Swastik. So what I was saying is that, well, your talk was very inspirational and credible. Incredible, I would say. Like it's gonna inspire a lot of people in this session. And yes, I haven't done GSOC. I mean, GSOC isn't the end. You can find your own way to open source contributors and still earn from it. I'm earning from open source as well. GSOC is just a way.
Exactly. Right. That's what exactly.
It's not compulsory to do GSOC for this open source roadmap, as people say on Twitter. It's not necessary.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
People are overhyped too much. GSOC, LFX, MLH. It's not necessary, but it's good for new people.
Exactly. Perfect. But you have to also remember now that we don't acknowledge this enough, but we should. Getting paid in open source is a privilege. And open source, to do open source in the first place, is a privilege. Because there is a reason these programs exist, right? And there is a reason my roommate is trapped outside my room right now. But there is a reason why these programs exist, right? Incentivizing people is important. Will you contribute to something where you're not making money while you can make money at the same time? Huh? It's with time you'll realize why they're important. But anyways, I should open it up. You guys throw me your other questions.
Yeah, everyone can ask a question in the chat and or the Q&A section as well.
Yes, what questions did I miss? Hey, no one is curious at all, bhai. Half of the stock was on going rabbit.
Bhaiya, can I ask a question on voice chat?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yes, from your perspective, which language is more rewarding in open source? Like we have people like Kunal Kushwaha who say like Java is the key, and there are like Indian fan influencers who say like DSA karo and go for C++ and do web dev. So like, what according to you will be much more rewarding for us from a perspective of GSOC 2024 or open source as in general?
Right. So to dumb down the question you asked, what is important from the perspective of an open source developer, DSA or open source?
No, no. See, I am a first year. I have zero idea what open source is. I just know that you work with communities, you contribute to their code bases, you resolve issues, and there's good first issue thing. I went there, I forked, I tried to fork, it did not work for me. So like I'm still, I'm learning to control things. I'm still like, learning you to use the buttons. But like कौन सा language करना चाहिए? Is like C++? Is it like we should go for Java? Or like Python पे we should like try our hands on and try to get our expertise on. So what is it?
You know what I'm curious कि स्वास्तिक क्या बोलेगा इसका? बोल स्वास्तिक.
So what I was saying that, this I think for beginners you can try for Python or JavaScript because there are plenty of repositories on GitHub, GitLab, and all which have JavaScript or Python code, and it's also easy to adapt and learn Python and JavaScript as compared to other languages like C++ and all. But again, it's on your personal preference.
Yeah, exactly. And I will double down on the personal. I feel like the Swastik ne bola it was pretty apt, but I'll double down on the personal preference bit because I am from security and I've seen people do some really niche things. Like there is this guy who's really, really good at PowerShell and he's like 13. I am blown away by how good he is. Uh, Definitely. And then there are people who are reversing malware for a living. So they're very, very good at different assembly languages and C++. है ना? So I won't really recommend. I don't like to recommend. And I think रचित ने देखा होगा जब भी मेरे पास बच्चे आते हैं मैं recommend नहीं करता उनको. But जब मुझसे 4-5 बार पूछ लेता मैं बोल देता हूँ यार तू Python कर ले, तू JavaScript कर ले, घुस जाएगा, है ना?
That's what I've said literally.
Exactly. Yes, I got you. है ना? तो generic advice के अच्छा ये उठा ले. But I'll remind you and double down on the fact कि tech is big, है ना? You can do a lot of cool things in tech.
I mean, I
Right?
started with C and assembly myself.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. Why listen कि अच्छा Python कर ले करे. Whatever comes to you naturally. It's all about personal preference. As long as it gets your work done.
I agree.
Does that fulfill you? I know that's very open-ended again, Data. Bull.
So like we have few questions in chat as well. How to make good GitHub profile?
ये हाथ भी तो उठाया हुआ है ना किसी ने
Actually,
सॉरी
bhai,
बोल.
so what I was saying that भाई GitHub profile देखो वो सब naturally होता है. देख quality matter करती है, not the amount of commits you have. ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि daily streak बनाओ, ये सब matter नहीं करता भाई. What matters is having a like quality contribution. If you have done 30 commits, okay. So what I mean is that if you have done 30 commits in like 1 year, if these are quality commits, that would be a good open source contribution as compared to thousands of commits having readme changes or type of fixes. That would be much
Yeah.
better quality, guys. And I would say that out of many contributions I have done 500, I would say 200 of these are not open source that contribution. They are just reviewing PRs and big PRs. So it may be counted or may not be counted as a contribution. It totally depends upon the perspective of the user or the open source person. Anything else would you add, Aditya?
Um, yeah, I mean, sure, if you getting a good who is in, by the way, say hi to Jayant. Jayant, wait, hi to बोल दे. He's a little focused. He doesn't want to disturb actually. Anyways, getting a good GitHub. As Swastik said, it comes naturally, right? You don't really need to worry about it. How to get a good GitHub? Just commit more, work harder. What do you want me to say there? Are you building enough things? Who asked that question? Rajat?
Check. It was Abhishek Mohan.
Abhishek?
It's mine. Abhishek Mohan, yeah. Hi,
Abhishek?
Aditya.
Was your
Hello.
question like did we answer your question well?
Yeah. Actually, I'm asking. I saw many GitHub profiles. They have a very attractive README file on their GitHub profile. It's really cool to. They are really reflecting their work in their README, how they contribute and in what projects they have contributed to. That seems really cool.
Sure, you can probably implement that as well if you open one of those readmes. Have you
Yeah.
opened them ever? Sorry, Abhishek.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. One more request, Aditya. May you please mention your Twitter account?
I, I mostly shed
You
post.
can take his LinkedIn. That would be better, I guess.
I mostly shed post there. It's mostly all my socials revolve around OXO Elliot. S- Find them yourself. It's not O, it's zero by the way. तो तेरे को ट्विटर पे फॉलो करना है मेरे को मैं शेड पोस्ट करता हूँ यू कैन फिगर जस्ट 0x0 एलियट है ना this cringe username I came up with when I was in 11th 12th it just stuck around now everyone calls me that online मैं क्या करूँ
No, your
Abhishek,
work speaks. Your work speaks on social. You don't need to change your username.
I hope so. Abhishek, are you building enough things?
Sorry, what?
Are you building enough things?
Not yet. Actually, I'm building some open source